Sideling Hill Tunnel is one of 3 original Pennsylvania Turnpike tunnels abandoned after 2 massive realignment projects. The others are nearby Race Hill Tunnel, and farther west, the Laurel Hill Tunnel. It was less expensive to realign the turnpike than to bore a second tube for 4-lane traffic. Sideling Hill Tunnel is 6,782 feet long. It was the longest of the original tunnels on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. The Race Hill Tunnel and Sideling Hill Tunnel are now part of the Pike2Bike Trail. Together, the 2 tunnels as well as the roadway are commonly known as the Abandoned Pennsylvania Turnpike. From the turnpike's opening in 1940 until the realignment projects, the tunnels were bottlenecks. Opposing traffic in the same tubes reduced speeds. 4 other tunnels on the turnpike, a circumflex Allegheny Mountain, Tuscarora Mountain, Kittatinny Mountain, and Blue Mountain, a circumflex, each had a second tube board, the least expensive option. All of the original tunnels, except for the Allegheny Mountain Tunnel, were part of Vanderbilt's Folly, the never-completed South Pennsylvania Railroad. The Sideling Hill Tunnel's original plans date back to the year 1881, when surveying for the South Pennsylvania Railroad began. Construction began that year, with the plans for 9 brand new tunnels, most of which were drilled by 1885. The Sideling Hill Tunnel was built before December 1884 by John O'Brien, an engineer from Rhinebeck, New York. On July 6, 1885, a blast occurred at the end of the Sideling Hill Tunnel. The blast, which was caused by dynamite, claimed the lives of 3 people, including O'Brien. Several other people were injured in the blast. Just 16 days later, another blast occurred in the tunnel, taking the lives of a Hungarian worker, along with 2 African Americans, 2 Italians, and 1 Irishman. The bodies were so cut by the rocks during the blast that the people were almost unidentifiable. Unfortunately, William H. Vanderbilt, who had started the plans for the railroad, noticed that expenses began to inflate, and he began to look for a second way to work things out. The construction was abandoned and never finished. In 1938, the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission took over the entire grade of the abandoned railway. The Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission started construction on a new toll highway from Carlisle, Pennsylvania to Irwin, Pennsylvania in 1938. When the Pennsylvania Turnpike opened on October 25, 1940, the Sideling Hill Tunnel was one of the 7 original tunnels along the highway, 6 of which were built from the old railroad tunnels from the 1880s. The Allegheny Mountain Tunnel was constructed from scratch, rather than from the tunnels, because of structural concerns. Beginning in 1951, the eastbound traffic at the Laurel Hill Tunnel would back up during the summer weekends. By 1958, the Laurel Hill experienced congestion any time from June to November. Because of the long bottlenecks, the Commission started looking into ways to remove the congestion. There were studies that began in the mid-1950s to decide on what to do with the tunnels. The studies looked into the major tunnels, the Laurel Hill and Allegheny Mountain, and the possibility of adding a second tube, or twinning, to them. Studies were completed for the remaining 5 mainline tunnels to determine the cost-benefit of twinning of the tunnels, or complete bypass. After the studies completed, the decision was made to go ahead with a US $100 million construction project to work with the tunnels. Construction began on September 6, 1962, with the first sub-project being a bypass of the Laurel Hill Tunnel. On October 30, 1964, just 2 years after construction began, the Laurel Hill bypass was completed and opened. The Laurel Hill Tunnel was permanently closed on that day. However, this was not the last bypass to occur for tunnels along the turnpike. 2 years after the closing of the Laurel Hill, the Allegheny Mountain became the first tunnel to be twinned, and opened on August 25, 1966. With the twinning of the Blue Mountain, Kittatinny Mountain and Tuscarora Mountain tunnels under construction, the Commission turned its focus to the remaining 2 mainline tunnels, the Race Hill Tunnel and the Sideling Hill Tunnel.